Hi guys, this is Troy Mail. I'm making a little video here today about how to do a guitar ensemble arrangement. Alright, now I teach guitar in secondary schools, and I've also taught guitar at a primary school level. And that is kind of, I guess, schools, kids from age 5 right up to about 16 or 17. And there's not a lot out there for students and their guitar ensembles. There's not a lot of material. Not a lot of good guitar arrangements have been written. So what that's meant over the last kind of 4 or 5 years is I've had to write a lot of my own guitar ensemble arrangements. I run about 3 or 4 different guitar ensembles, usually most of them high school kids from about age 11, I guess, right up to age about 17. And I've had to kind of come up with my own guitar ensemble arrangements that suit their levels. I've found a lot of arrangements that are out there have been done, it seems, by people who aren't guitar teachers, who are maybe woodwind teachers, string teachers, whatever, and they've pretty much adapted their own arrangements and just turned them into guitar ensemble arrangements. And they're often single note lines being, plastered together in a way that doesn't really work for beginner to a kind of intermediate level guitar students. So I thought this little video might be helpful and practical for teachers. Very often some of them might not be guitar teachers themselves, but you might have a bunch of guitar students and you want to give them something because they're keen. And so I'll show you a few of my little techniques and how I've put them together over the years. I do all my arrangements on Sibellius, so this video is about doing a guitar ensemble arrangement on Sibellius. So the first thing I suggest you do is get a fake book arrangement of whatever song you're trying to arrange. The first thing you're going to have to decide is how many parts you're going to write. Alright, you're going to have different skill level amongst a group of students. So you might want to start doing just 2 parts, a melody part played by one group, and then you might also want to do a rhythm part played by another group. Or you might find it, maybe if you've got say 10, 12 students, you might have 3 different levels. And then if that's the case, you can do a melody part, chordal accompaniment part, and then for a third part you might be able to write just a basic kind of bass line. It doesn't have to be played on bass guitar, but it can be played on regular guitar, but just a simple single note line, and that can often be played by the more beginner students who've maybe only been playing 6 months, a little bit more. Alright? So the first thing you want to do when you're doing your guitar ensemble arrangement is start off by creating a piece of music. Alright, so what I suggest you do is click on here, treble staff. Okay, so we're going to click on that one. Alright, so your next step is to look over to the right here. And what we want to do is we want to decide what instruments. Obviously it's a guitar ensemble, we're going to have more than one part. Alright, so what you want to do is click this change instruments button, like so. Okay, you want to go to the guitars drop box or drop down menu, as you can see there. Alright, going to hit that. Now what we want to do is we're going to start off with a acoustic guitar notation, that one, and then you want to hold shift and include your tuning guitar, your acoustic guitar, that top notation line with its corresponding tab part. Alright, and we want to go over here where it says add score and add that to the score. Alright, now that's assuming we've only got one melody part. But of course, like we spoke about before, you're going to do most of your guitar arrangements with 2 or 3 parts. So what we're going to do is we're literally just going to add another notation line with another standard tuning line. Okay, now once you've got 2 guitars with the corresponding tab parts, you can see that they're stacked with 2 notations and then 2 guitar tab parts, or 2 guitar tab lines underneath. That won't work because if you've seen, say, a notation of guitar with a tab line underneath in a guitar magazine, say, you'll know that the notation comes first, and then the guitar tab sits underneath it. So what we want to do is we want to click the standard tuning tab line and go to here where it says move, and we go up, and that will do that. So now we should have a notation line underneath that, its corresponding tab part, and then the same thing underneath that again. Alright, so let's just do, for the moment, let's do a 2 guitar part guitar ensemble transcription. We're going to go OK for that, and boom, there we go. Alright, we have treble clef notation line, it's tab, then another treble clef notation line, then its corresponding tab. Now there's one extra treble clef part that's come out here. We want to delete that. So all we have to do here is go change instruments. That's the bottom one there that we don't want. We click on that, go delete from score, and it should be perfect. There we go. That's how we want our two-part guitar ensemble arrangement to look. Next thing we want to do here is choose our time signature over here. Now we're going to be doing Silent Night in 3/4, so we'll click on that. So we've clicked the 3/4 time signature, which is what we want for Sibellius, Silent Night rather. Alright, then we're going to scroll down. Your next step is to start with bar length. Alright, so we only want to tick this if we're going to start with an anacrusis or like a lead-in note, like a bar that's not the full length. But we're just going to start ours with a regular 3/4 bar, so we don't need to tick on that. Tempo text, well, this is a drop box where you can choose any one of these Italian terms. Alright, we're just going to go with moderato for Silent Night. And metronome mark, well, this is important. Alright, so we're going to tick on that, and we want to set Silent Night at about 84. Alright, but that's pretty obvious why we would tick metronome marking. And then we've got choose our key. Obviously, because Silent Night's in the key of C major, we don't need to click any of those. And this is the last bit. All right, we want score information setup. Okay, now this is going to kind of title our piece. We're going to call it Silent Night. Okay, composer songwriter, we don't need to fill that in, or we can call it traditional, I suppose. No need for lyricist, and this little box here gives you the option of creating a title page. Alright, which personally I never do. I don't really see it necessary. You may want to do that. It's up to you. Alright, so that's the most important part of the setup of our document. Let's go create. And there we go. Alright, we have our worksheet, if you will, for Silent Night. Complete with heading, metronome marking, and it has a key signature of G major, which we want to change. Alright, now we just want to change that key signature back to C. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Notations in the menu here, click on Key Signature, and change the key back to C major by just clicking on that. Alright, so that's what we do. We go to Key Signature, click on C, and then we want to go down and actually click on the kind of just above the sharp sign where it said G, alright? Now, here we have our ensemble full score arrangement page of Silent Night. Now, obviously the first thing you want to do is be able to insert your notes. How do you do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. What we want to do here is go into the View menu. Now, let's assume you can't see the keypad, or I'm going to turn that off. How do we find the keypad? All you need to do is go to Panels, click on Keypad, and boom, there it is. All right. And now, this is what I suggested earlier: is you get a fatebook arrangement of whatever song you're trying to arrange, and because that will make it a lot easier and speed up the process of being able to put this together. All right. So basically, the first note we want to do on Silent Night is a G. It's a dotted crotchet G, and we want to click on it there. We want to add a dot here, so make a dotted crotchet, and literally just drag it across like so. Place it at the start of the bar, and boom. All right, there we have our first note. All right, now that I've put the first note in for Silent Night, I'm going to show you how to do the tab line, the corresponding tab line for the melody. All right, that you see that's going to be put on that second little tab line right there. Okay, so I'll finish the melody of the first bar first by grabbing the notes, which is that, and that one there. Oops, little mistake there. Let's try again. Okay, so that's our first bar. Now changing it to tab for the tab line underneath is really simple. Highlight the first bar, copy it, highlight the tab bar below it, and paste, however you paste on your machine. All right, and it's that simple. That's all you need to do to create a tab line. Done. Now, the first thing you want to do with writing your rhythm part is go to this text menu here. All right, and we're going to put chord symbols by clicking on this and drop them above that stave there. Click on the chord symbol, bring it down to here. Our first chord is going to be a C chord because we know our fate book arrangement of Silent Night says that. Going to click there, type capital C, then hit enter, and then I'm going to bring the mouse down here, click again, and as you can see, boom, it gives us a chord shape. Now this chord shape here, this diagram is essential because, especially when you're dealing with beginner guitarists, if they've got a picture of the chord right above what they're going to play, it's going to make it a whole lot easier for them to learn it. They're going to be able to go to the chord straight away without having to refer to a chord sheet, all right? So these little chord symbols here are going to be your best friend for this piece. Another thing you can do, it's not essential, but you can actually write the chords in notation down here. Right, I'm just going to write a little C chord here. All right. Okay, now that's how that chord will look if it's written out in notes. Now, instead of writing a little tab equivalent of this down here, we don't need to do that because we already have the diagram showing us how to play the chords. But what we do need is a strumming pattern, all right? And that's what we're going to put on the tab line. Now to do that, quite simple, we go to notations and we're going to grab a little arrow, all right? Here's one I've prepared earlier. I know I'm going to have to go down here. I'm going to scroll down until we find ourselves a down arrow. Quite a ways down, I think. Here we go, arrow down. I'm going to choose that. And I'm going to place it on the tab staff. Yeah, for some reason the arrow appears up the top here. What we want to do is grab it and take it down and place it in our tab staff. All right. Now you'll notice it's already highlighted, and if we want, because this is in 3/4, we're going to want 3 arrows because we're going to want the guitarists, the rhythm guitar players playing 3 downward strums. So all we have to do is, if it's highlighted, hit R and it will repeat it. All right, 3 downstroke arrows, and then we're going to delete that little rest, that whole bar rest, boom, and our arrow is in the middle. We can even drag it across like that. All right, there we go. Okay, that is how we want our rhythm part to look. So we've got our melody here, we've got our rhythm part here. All right, and we can also actually just highlight that and repeat it as well. R, okay, but we'll delete those because we don't need 2 chord symbols above. All right, and that's our rhythm part, okay? Nice and easy to read. 3 down strums with 3 chords. And then we pretty much just treat the whole piece like that. Write your notes first, copy and tab them below, then the chords underneath. And you got yourself a nice little easy to read for guitarists arrangement of Silent Night. Now another thing I wanted to show you how to do is how to separate parts, because you're not going to give your students these full scores that we're looking at here. You want to give them individual parts. Now, separating parts out is really quite easy. All we want to do here is go to the parts menu, click on that, go new part, all right, and we're just going to break it down like this. You're going to highlight, here I'm going to highlight the first 2, and this should give me the melody line with its corresponding tab part, all right, and it's going to add it to the screen here. Take a look. There we go. All right, that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted the melody with its corresponding tab line. Okay, so there you go. You got your first part, and you do the same thing with all your parts. All right, and it will just bring them up across the menu here, and you can just click accordingly. Okay. Another challenge faced by a lot of teachers doing this is that they don't know how they're going to perform this. Guitar is an instrument that needs to be amplified properly. One technique that I often see guitar ensembles do, be they from schools or universities, is use nylon string guitars with microphones on them. That's one little technique that can be done. You're going to need a PA system if you want to do that. The other one that I employ in the schools that I teach at is I get the students, the school rather, to buy, both of the schools I teach at have a supply of amplifiable nylon string guitars. Valencia and Ashton make great ones, and I'll put a photo up here of amplifiable guitars. That is guitars that have pickups in them. That way, what you can do is you can have, say, some of the melody players, some of the chord players plug these instruments in guitar amplifiers, and then even if you've got a bunch of kids behind that playing guitar and melody, you've got the skilled kids who are playing the melody and the chords being amplified, and then there can be a nice echo with the other students who aren't plugged in playing regular steel strings or nylon strings. That way you can perform with a few guitar amps and the other kids all playing on a stage, and it produces a nice quality sound. You won't necessarily even need a PA system. You've got about 3 or 4 guitar amps playing from these nylon string guitars. Your other option is to use electric guitars. The other problem I find with electric guitars is if you've got 12, 13 kids all playing electric guitars, it could sound really quite muddy. Your skill level of the students needs to be probably quite high if you want to be able to pull off 12, 13 electric guitars. That's just electric guitars with a clean sound. Electric guitars with a distorted sound, if there's 12 of them, it can be really a little overbearing. That's generally why I find the best way to do this is just have a bunch of nylon strings or even steel strings plugged into a few amplifiers. But if you can find a better way of doing it, if you can find another way of doing it, let me know. Please type in the comments and I'd be interested to hear about it. All right? First example here I've got of one of my arrangements is a pretty simple arrangement of Waltzing Matilda. All right, this is good for kind of students who've only been playing 6 to 12 months. Again, like I mentioned before, I like to separate 2 parts with kind of levels. You got a melody part here, which is going to suit your kids who are kind of hitting an intermediate level, who can read tabs, who can play quavers of a melody on single notes. And then down here, you've got just a rhythm strumming guitar part. All right. So this is a pretty nice little basic arrangement, and I've had kids in year 7 who have only been playing guitar about 6 months play this one, and this is just one kind of little way I like to divide up my groups, with half playing melody, half playing chords. Okay, here's another little example of one of the arrangements I've done. This is Pachelbel's Canon in D. Again, this kind of exemplifies this idea of putting the most difficult part in the melody in the top line. As you can see here, it gets pretty messed up here with a lot of semiquavers and so on for the melody parts. This is a kind of a simpler, little easier part to play with, just the mostly open chords playing a repetitive pattern over and over. And here again is an even simpler part, which is just strumming the chords. All right, so this is kind of 3 levels. You got your best students who are going to be able to play this, or the most advanced students, I guess, who are going to play this part here. More intermediate students next levels down are going to play that one, and then your kids who haven't been playing so long are going to play that one there. All right, like I said, this is how I like to do a lot of my arrangements. All right, guys, well, that's pretty much it for the moment for writing music for guitar ensembles. I hope that was helpful for you. I've tried to kind of explain it as basically as I could, but yet still concise in a way that might help most maybe high school teachers or primary school music teachers. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel. Also, don't be afraid to head over to my website, trymile.com/shop, and a lot of these guitar arrangements that I've done are actually for sale, and there's a couple of freebies on there as well. All right, so please let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you on the next video. All right, bye-bye.